So today I want to talk about motivations, intuition, consecration, and really like authority. So first of all, space between me and who I'm trying to be. That's how the judgments get in, and how there can be jealousy or revenge, exploiting, or the potential for going beyond the habit, and harnessing, transforming energy for purpose. That's motivation. So judgments get in that space, right? Who I am, who I'm supposed to be. That's how there can be the jealousy, the revenge, or exploiting. And that's also where the potential could be for going beyond that habit or any habit, harnessing, transforming the energy for purpose, motivation. So some things I wrote about motivation was house with a family in it, making it home. A few months of helping people can cure even the deepest depression, especially young ones. Being something real, being godlike in this world, being real, right? Forgiving even the sinners, the choosers of falseness, power, control, exile, free of all parasite energy. Considering the special sight to be a blessing and curse simultaneously, like to be able to see, especially, it's both a blessing and a curse. And I feel like I'm reading this, it's such a sign, because I'm thinking of like being free of parasite energy. And I don't mean just physical parasites. Like we all think about like ticks, fleas, or you know, on dogs or on humans, we think of like worms, pinworms, or lice. But then there's also that like energy, and then like a leech of energy. And we could say also that when we forgive the sinners, I've been thinking a lot about forgiving people who are not sorry. This is someone who chose falseness or chose power and control, you know, versus what? Versus the oneness, or chose exile versus the inclusivity or the belonging. And when we move through and for me, motivation is like moving through the honesty with honesty and clarity by keeping the imagination clean. So this is a lot to do with consumption, taking responsibility for what we watch, what we focus on, and having fun in constructing a legacy. For some people, it's about child rearing, just having a great time, you know, having family. And pure love, really, if and only if, you know, the love transcends pain. So when we cut the cord with our mother, there's a sad, lonely dungeon where we start to repress our stuff. It can happen when we're still in the womb, it can happen when we're born. And unfortunately, I want to say, like, this is the tiny, tiny space where everything can come from. So even these horrible things, like someone who's numb to demonic or cruel behavior and forgets the very human soul's giving existence, forgetting thoughts, you know, fantasies, idealizations, frustrations, demoralizations, even the fact that in the extreme, it's the system that takes life for nothingness in return. Nothingness, quote unquote, like vanity. In Hebrew we say hevel, like it's really worth, it's not worth the years, the decades, you know. You cannot straighten water. It's robbing its fundamental nature. That's why it was a miracle when the water parted and made the sea split, right? So these ideas are like, you know, by confusing the soul's knowledge of what is good for it, all the force it has being used for demonic or dressed as rules, truth, holiness. It's like this costume of being who we think we're supposed to be can only happen when we're not being where we are now. We're trying to be where we think we're supposed to be. There's that, in that space, we could be numb to the demonic or cruel energy. We could forget the human soul's giving existence. We can start to have that sad, lonely dungeon where we repress stuff because we don't feel like mother, we don't feel like safe, understood. But the love transcends the pain. So, you know, we can even think weaknesses, getting taken advantage of. We can try to be vulnerable without reacting for the sake of earning our own legacy. You know, I spoke about legacy, having fun doing it, like playing the character and knowing that when we confuse the soul's knowledge, like I mentioned, you know, you can't straighten water. And when there's a system that's taking life for granted, we can look at our recent choices and see, where are we at really? You know, what's really going on? We can let go of the forms and not be attached. We can feel the all, feel the self, and not have to be any specific definition. That's not bringing, the decayer to the creator. I like that. We're not bringing the decay to the creation. We're not bringing decay, which is what is the old, which is what we're like shedding all the time. We're shedding, and versus, and that's the rules, the truth, the holiness that is not really the correct law, the correct truth or holiness. And that's when we eat poison. It's not going to go well. We don't even want to go there. Now I want to talk about intuition. That's our inner Torah. Tomorrow is Shavuos. I won't be making videos. I'll make one more today probably for tomorrow, but it'll be for tomorrow. So I'll say tomorrow is Shavuos. And so we're getting the Torah. We're getting all forms of Torah. Torah is the law of life, the law of love, the law of truth, the law of oneness, the law of God. It's God's will. It's what's God's will. God's the higher power of all will. So wherever you think you're going, God is beyond. Wherever you think you came from, God's beyond. Whenever you're looking at time, you're still in time. God created time. It's just, we don't have to argue with it. We're just accepting, and we're going to do according to that. And yeah, sure, we will sometimes have trips where we have doubts, and that's part of the process. And we go deeper into our roots. So the inner Torah, the new Torah, or the written Torah, the oral Torah. Oral Torah is related to the intuitive Torah. The new Torah is related to the original Torah before it was even written down. The written Torah is the structure, right? So we have the flow and the form. Anyway, so the inner Torah can tell us what's permissible and not permissible, what's forbidden, what's not forbidden, which is what the oral Torah tried to do to explain and interpret the written Torah in situations where it's not exactly explicit. There's no tactics, no agenda, no judgments, no domination, and it feeds clarity through the inner vision and is fed by our instincts, which are from outer vision, and so on. So it feeds the inner vision clarity and feeds instincts to the outer vision. This is where we have coherence of tohu, which is non-order, and tikkun, which is order. We're basically doing tikkun. We're finding the order. And discernment is when we know what is appropriate and what's inappropriate. And as we combine the knowledge of the patterns of life's rules of nature with the feedback we get when we follow or violate them, we can stay in the objective and the universal, which is where we can meet all of life and death. It doesn't mean that we're not also subjective. That's the paradox. The paradox is that we are following the rules not in a vacuum. So when we see the effects, in other words, what happens when we follow or violate the rules, we can stay in that universal truth of like life supports life. People find idioms, they find something to stand on, they find anchors, they find cliches, whatever it is. And so as we follow the patterns of life's rules of nature that we were born into, we're never in a vacuum, as we also use our discernment to see what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, what's forbidden, what's not forbidden. And we have to keep in mind there are things that block. This is blindness, this is causing deafness, we can't see, we can't hear. And now I'm going to talk about authority and consecration. Consecration is the most important thing because it's the deed, it's the action, it becomes consecrated. The eyeball is the world, the iris is the land of Israel, the pupil is the city Jerusalem, and the image that is seen on it is the Beis Hamikdash. So what does that mean? That means there's in the black hole of the eye, there are receptors there. And the receptors, what they see is the holy house. The holy house is where God dwells. So how do we keep our the eyeball as the world, so that we see that there's like this idea that the consecration in that as the deed is that we're looking. So what is the image in our eye? What are we seeing? Are we seeing with a godly dwelling? Are we seeing with a godly presence? Are we seeing the way God sees? Am I seeing the way God sees? How do I imagine God sees? And it happens to be interesting that Yerushalayim, I said Jerusalem, Yerushalayim is perfect fear. Yira and Shalem. And also, Yeru is related to sight. Sight or appearance. And so a pupil, where the sight or appearance comes, it's like from the nothingness we could have this idea of somethingness. Why? Because the light came in and touched the receptor. So also our tongue, we heal the tongue, which in Hebrew also means language. It's the same word for both. We heal our language, which leads to speaking only positively and carefully. Can God dwell in our tongue? So God dwelling in our eye, God dwelling in deeds. So God dwelling in our action, right? In our speech. And we could say the eye is the image, which is like the thought. And the thought. Or perceptions, right? And when we don't mislead anyone or take the precious bonding for granted, we're actually bringing God also in our relationships too. And if we don't need to be full of hot air, deflated, full of hot air can deflate, or full of substance which degrades, we're also bringing God into our embodiment. And actually, we're each a dwelling for God. We're called a Mishkan. A Mishkan is a sanctuary, that both the home and the person. So it's like how would you say it? The whole spiritual galaxy body and the Beis Hamikdash is the home we keep safe and clean. So our home is our holy house. The Mishkan that moves with us is the spiritual galaxy. Everywhere we go, we're like the galaxy is moving with us. And so our authority here is a good host makes a good guest, and vice versa. A good boss makes a good worker, and vice versa. This is qualities of sustainability. How do you keep your authority rather than get, caught up in trying to be the authority? A good entertainer is a good audience, and vice versa. And a good master is a good servant, and vice versa. And a good advisor is a good listener, and vice versa. And a good parent makes a good child, and vice versa. So the most precious is recognizing the giver needs a vessel to receive it from it. And a leader sees that there's self in everyone, and everyone can see themselves in the leader. And by guiding and nurturing toward independent and self-sufficient kind of growth is lasting. So the authority that lasts guides and nurtures us, right? It brings us closer to our real self. And I'll stop here. I will do another video before the holiday. The holiday is from Tuesday night until Thursday night, so I won't do a video. And then there is an after. It's called Isru Chag, after the holiday. So after the holiday depends. I don't know if I'll be doing a video. And then is the Sabbath on Saturday. There is a chance that's the next video. I won't be making a video until Sunday, and that's okay. Things will be so different by then, right? Who knows what or where or how life will be. I still have a lot of this journal and a few more, and I'm still, writing, and I'm still a scholar. But I'm gonna go off the video now and wish you a holy, happy Shavuos. Even though you'll see me again before that, God willing. Bye.